call this May 6th work session of the Oconee County Board of Education to order. First item of business is we need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Mr. Burgess?
Second.
Mr. Ransom, all in favor? Passes 5-0. Next on our agenda is Superintendent's Report. Dr. Branch.
Thank you, Ms. Argo, board members. A little bit of things going on in the system. I know it's been a busy day for the board, and appreciate your participation as we honored 29 of our retiring educators with over 550 hours, or community years rather, of service to our school system. So thank you for your participation in that, and congratulations again to all of our retiring educators. See, a few of them stuck around for our meetings, but most of them decided to take their trophy and go on to the house. So we do appreciate them greatly. I'm sure that both they and the existing folks who will be returning next year do not need this reminder, but we do have 9 days of school remaining. Some would say 8.5, I guess, depending on how you look at it. But we appreciate the great year that we've had thus far and look forward to closing out strong. As we prepare for the closeout, we do have graduation coming up. Just a reminder that North Oconee is May 17th at 7 p.m. and Oconee County High School is May 18th at 7 p.m. So we look forward to celebrating those students, and those are both held at the schools this year as renovation continues at the Coliseum at UGA. They have shared with us that we hopefully will be available to utilize that facility next year. So we'll continue to monitor that and work through that. A few things that we were able to celebrate. I know some of the board members were able to attend. Both North and OC celebrated our top 5% of graduates. We had a future educators signing where we celebrated students that are making the commitment to go into education upon graduation. And we also were able to celebrate our work-based learning employer and mentor appreciation reception. Our employer of the year this year was Surgery Center of Athens and Engineered Fabrication. So we appreciate the wonderful support of all of our businesses that give our students an opportunity to extend their learning. A few other things. This is our first chance to publicly recognize Mr. Matt Stevens as the incoming principal of Oconee County High School. So congratulations. And Mr. Peter Adams, who will be joining us as CFO on May 16th. Also our first opportunity to celebrate something that's good for the individual but not so good for our system. Dr. Dallas LaDuff being named the sole finalist for the superintendency in Barrow County Schools. So congratulations, Dallas. Last week we had the opportunity to celebrate our principals as well as our cafeteria staff, the National Principal and Cafeteria Staff Day. Today began our National Teacher Appreciation Week, so you should see lots of social media posts and celebrations of our outstanding world-class teachers. And Wednesday is National School Nurses Day, so lots of opportunities to celebrate and appreciate our outstanding students and staff members. One particular student I want to point out is Malcolm Bridge Middle School's Dear May Road Trot. Hopefully I did that okay. First in the nation among 6th graders in the Daughters of the American Revolution essay contest. So she will go to Washington, D.C. in June to celebrate that honor, and we're very proud of that accomplishment for that student. Also wanted to point out that both our Oconee County High School and North Oconee were rated in the top 6% of all high schools in the nation by U.S. News and World Report. I know that our leaders would say that this is a K-12 award, but want to appreciate the great work that's taken place at Oconee and North, so thank you both for that. A few other things as we close out. North Oconee gymnastics.
Go Titans.
Go Titans. 5th straight state championship. So look forward to continuing to celebrate that dynasty, I guess is probably fair to say at this point. But not to be outdone, Oconee County High School had an individual all-around gymnastics state champion second straight year as well, back-to-back, Hannah Aoki. So wonderful accomplishments going at both schools. Oconee County High School and North Oconee's girls soccer are both playing for state titles, both on Wednesday in 2 different locations. So we will be cheering them on and spreading out the love from Oconee as we support them. Our baseball teams are currently also battling not only opponents but the elements as they try to complete their tournaments. So I believe we're in a rain delay for Oconee County High School right now. And is North playing right now? Or are we
top of 7?
okay? All right, very good. So great things happening there. Our girls tennis team, Oconee County High School, will be taking on Wesleyan in Rome on Saturday for the state championship, and several of our athletes from both high schools will be competing at the state championships this weekend. I believe that is in Albany. So more than opportunity to share, but lots of wonderful things going on all across our district. Perhaps the last thing I'll leave you with is just an informational item. As we do have 9 days, it is one of those items where we do remind the board that we will be functioning in summer hours as we get more into May, June, and so the district will be open Monday through Thursday, working 10-hour days, and then closed on Fridays. So we will post those hours when we get ready to prepare that, and that will be both at the school and district level. That concludes the superintendent's report, unless there are any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Branch. Next on our agenda is presentations and discussions. First, we have our teaching and learning report. Welcome, Dr. Stansel.
Thank you, Ms. Argo. Good evening, board members, Dr. Branch. The May 2024 Teaching and Learning Report contains 2 items of information and 2 action items. The first item of information, like Dr. Branch shared, is the Future Educators Signing Day. The annual Future Educators Signing Day event was held on Tuesday, April 23rd at the Oconee County Civic Center. Jennifer Beeson, the Oconee County Primary School Teacher of the Year, served as our guest speaker. A total of 22 students from Oconee County and North Oconee High School participated in this ceremony, during which they signed letters of commitment to pursue a career in education. We did share with them that we hope when they get that first teaching job that they remember to come back and apply to Oconee County schools. The second item of information is the Work-Based Learning Mentor Appreciation Banquet. The annual banquet was held on Thursday, April 18th at the Oconee County Civic Center. A total of 103 students from North Oconee and Oconee County High Schools participated in work-based learning this school year, and a total of 77 businesses partnered with this program to provide this opportunity to our students. At the banquet, Surgery Center of Athens and Engineered Fabrication, Inc. were recognized as the Employers of the Year. The first action item for the May Board of Education meeting is the CTAE Local Plan and Grants. Each year, the OCS Career, Technical, and Agricultural Education, or CTAE, department has the opportunity to apply for federal funding through the Carl D. Perkins Vocational and Technical Education Act and several state grants for the purpose of improving our CTAE programs. The superintendent's recommendation is for the Board of Education to approve the FY25 CTAE local plan at the May 13, 2024 Board of Education meeting. The second action item for tonight's meeting is the SWSS Local Board Resolution. A Strategic Waiver School System, or SWSS, is a local school district that operates under the terms of a contract between the State Board of Education and the local Board of Education. The system receives flexibility in the form of waivers of certain rules and guidelines in exchange for greater accountability for increased student performance. It is time to renew our SWSS contract. Our draft contract was submitted to the Georgia Department of Education in March, and the DOE has received and reviewed our application. The next step is local board approval. Once this is approved by our Board of Education, it will go to the State Board for approval. The superintendent's recommendation is for the Board of Education to approve the SWSS Local Board Resolution at the May 13th, 2024 Board of Education meeting. And that concludes the teaching and learning report, unless there are any questions.
Any questions? Thank you, Dr. Stansel. Thank you. Next, we have Human Resources. Welcome, Mr. Cofer.
Thank you. Good evening. Tonight's Human Resources report contains 2 items of information and no action items. Our first item of information is our Social Security and Medicare 101 course that we offer. As an HR team, we prioritize a proactive approach to addressing the needs of and finding answers for our staff. In line with this commitment, we partnered with the Social Security Administration to offer an opportunity for our staff to hear directly from the experts the essential insights and information they may need to know about Social Security and Medicare. On April 23rd, we hosted two sessions at North Oconee, one at 12:30 and another at 4 p.m., during which time Ms. Anise Norman from the Social Security Office provided an in-depth presentation along with a Q&A session immediately following. We did also record the presentation, and it has since been shared with all staff who were unable to attend the meeting. Our second item of information, as Dr. Branch mentioned, is the teacher retirement reception that we hosted earlier today. This year, we recognized 29 exceptional educators for their remarkable achievements and to express our gratitude for their years of service. Combined, as Dr. Branch mentioned, these educators have dedicated nearly 550 years to the students of Oconee County Schools, and their efforts have left an undeniable mark on our school community and beyond. That concludes HR's presentation for this evening. We will remain available for any questions.
Any questions? Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Next, we have Technology. Welcome, Dr. White.
Thank you. Good evening, board members and Dr. Branch. Technology's first informational item for tonight's regular session meeting is regarding the desktop computer refresh. The board approved 98 desktop computers at the January 2024 regular session. These devices have been delivered to all corresponding campuses, and Technology is beginning the process of replacing end-of-life computers starting now through the summer. Our second informational item are laptop replacements for teachers. The board approved 111 laptop computers at the February 2024 regular session. These devices have been delivered to Technology and will be delivered to teachers starting next week. Our final informational item is Technology support for Georgia Milestones. Technology has worked closely with school administrators and teaching and learning to ensure a smooth testing experience for students. We have built data dashboards to monitor traffic and server statistics, in addition to having school TSTs and technology personnel on site during testing to support students. And I know today is not May the 4th, it is May the 6th, but I'm a Star Wars fan, so I have to be able to say, may the 4th be with you. So this concludes Technology's report, unless there are any questions.
Definitely. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Next, we have our Associate Superintendent's report. Welcome, Dr. Ledoux.
Thank you, Ms. Sargo. Good evening, everyone. The Associate Superintendent's report contains 3 items of information and 7 action items for the May 13th Board of Education meeting. The first item of information is our school nutrition participation. Board members, you'll see that we saw an increase in both breakfast and lunch participation when compared to April of last school year. The second item of information is our FY24 bus purchase update. Board members, you previously approved the purchase of 6 school buses, 1 72 passenger bus, and 5 48 passenger bus. Happy to report that those buses have been received, inspected, and as of last Friday, they were in service supporting the children of Oconee County Schools. So thank you for your support of the Transportation Department. I'm sure we'll be bringing you more soon. The third item of information is our First Responders Luncheon. I want to thank the board for their support of this event and their attendance at this event, as you guys do every year. Just as a reminder, we are supported greatly by our first responders here locally in Oconee County. Some examples of that are our regular meetings with the leadership of the school system and leadership of the Sheriff's Office. The Sheriff's Office provides traffic direction. All of our first responders train alongside our school staff throughout the school year, and as we also have some training scheduled over the summer at some of our schools for our first responders to train together. And the Sheriff's Office also provides safety training directly to our staff each year at the beginning of the year and then throughout as we do that. So we were just happy to break bread with our first responders in the community and just show our appreciation for their partnership and everything they do to support our teachers, our staff, our families, and our children in our schools. The first item of, action item rather, is our FY25 school nutrition bids. Just as a reminder, we are a part of the Georgia Education Cooperative, which is a group of school systems that put the different providers you see on the screen through the competitive bid process and then come together to award those bids. So the superintendent's recommendation is that we approve Oconee County Schools using the Georgia Education Cooperative for the next school year for the products presented on screen. The next 6 items of information are all field trips, so I'm going to run through those individually for you. Oconee County High School rocketry wants to go to Virginia in May. The baseball team from Oconee County High School will travel to Alabama in June. FCCLA from Oconee County High School will go to Seattle in June. Oconee County High School girls basketball will travel to South Carolina in June. The North Oconee girls golf team will go to Frisco, Texas in July. And we have a student from North Oconee who will be competing at a National History Day competition, and they will be going to College Park, Maryland in June. Superintendent's recommendation is to approve all trips as presented. This concludes the Associate Superintendent report, unless there's any questions.
Questions? Yes.
Now, it's on the school nutrition bids.
Yes, sir.
Can I interpret initial bid year to mean that was the initial bid, initial year that we use these individual companies?
Yes, sir.
So all of these are organizations that we've had past experience with,
Yes, sir.
some of them for multiple years.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Anyone else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have student services. Welcome, Ms. Corndole.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Branch. We have a student service report for May 6th, contains one information item and no action items. The first item is information is on the mobile immunization clinic. Excuse me. The school district has partnered with the health department to provide an immunization mobile clinic at each high school this year. We did it in the fall and we did it in the spring. This is to help our parents with meeting the requirement of the immunizations for our high school students. In April, on the 22nd, we had them split between North and Oconee High School, and we had 46 students that attended the clinic this year. And that is the 16-year-olds that we're going to be needing it for next school year. Any other questions?
Suzanne,
Yes.
is this the first year we've done this?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I've never heard of it before.
No,
It's an interesting idea.
Yeah, we were looking at different options on how we can get all of our schools to be as close to 100%. That's our goal, and we did. So we continually have our nurses work with our school administrators and, working with the parents and the counselors to getting those students to get immunized. It's the kindergartners, which are easy to do, 7th graders, and then your 11th graders. The high schoolers seem to be the pot of students that we seem to have to stay on to get. So we started one in the fall, and then we just did one in the spring.
Was the participation in the fall?
Was not as great, there was 8.
Okay, just not as many needed.
Yes, and we also, had the letters, and they knew they had the school year, so parents were saying, oh, I've got a doctor's, visit, set, I have it for next month. So they were in that fall window that they were gonna take care of it. Any other questions?
Thank you. Next, we have operations. Welcome, Mr. Ricketson.
Good evening. The Oconee County Schools Operations May 6th Board of Education report contains 4 items of information and no action items for the May 13th Board of Education meeting. The first item of information is the energy report has been updated for the month of March. Second item of information is the league custodians meeting. The April league custodian meeting was held on Thursday, April 11th, and was hosted by the team at Malcolm Bridge Middle School. The team discussed the plan for summer cleaning. Our custodial teams are to be commended for the rigorous work ensuring that our schools are clean for health. Construction update. First is the Instructional Support Center. We are continue to make really great progress, closing in on being finished and ready for our ribbon cutting in June, and our move-in June as well. So things are going really, really well, putting the finishing touches on and cleaning a lot of dust.
Yeah.
Next is Malcolm Bridge Elementary School. The generator is finally here, and the installation will be completed this week, and that should be the last item at Malcolm Bridge Elementary School as we close that project out. Rocky Branch Elementary renovations and modifications. As I've said before, they began work over spring break to try and do some enabling projects. They've done exterior painting. They've done some work in a lot of the closets. We emptied the closets for spring break, did the painting, replaced the lights, replaced ceilings, all the work that was in there so we can put the things back in the closet. And that's one thing we don't have to move out of the building this summer. With only 9 days of school left, they are gearing up and getting ready to start as soon as post-planning is finished, and working very diligently to be finished on time. Next is the generator project. Those generators have all been ordered, and we are preparing to start doing enabling projects for that, such as running gas lines and pouring pads and getting ready to accept those generators and install them as soon as they arrive. So we're getting ready to get started on a lot of things to deal with that. Finally, we have fourth item of information is the transportation update. We had 32 field trips, 16 athletic fit trips, 20 special education trips, 85 buses were deployed for special trips for a total of 5,387 miles. And that concludes the operations report unless there are any questions.
Any questions? Thank you. Next, we have communications. Welcome, Mr. Coffey.
Thank you, Ms. Argo. Good evening, board members and Dr. Branch. The communications report this evening has 3 items of information. First is the April social media report. You'll see that we had almost 8,000 impressions on average for our 44 posts during the month. Another 7,800 opened our April newsletter. So we thank our supporters for following us on social media and engaging with us. The second item of information is a reminder that the graduations will be returning to the high school campuses, North Oconee on May 17th and Oconee County on May 18th. It's been a collaborative effort to get ready for the graduations, but the main thing is we want to have a great experience for the students that will be graduating and their families, so we're excited about that opportunity. Thank you to the board for being present at both graduations as well. Third item of information this evening is our April 24 highlights. If you'll mute your mics during this, and just right. See, that was another exciting month of April, and a lot of great things taking place inside of our schools. And that concludes communications. Unless you have any questions for me.
Any questions? Thank you. Next, we have business services. Welcome, Ms. Childers.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Branch. The Oconee County Schools Business Services May 6, 2024 Board of Education report contains 2 action items for the May 13, 2024 Board of Education meeting. Our first action item is the FY25 tentative budget for general fund that will be placed for your consideration at the May 13th regular session. This first slide is our FY25 budget development calendar. The budget process begins in February. Division budgets are due to business services. In March, the staffing and per pupil allotments are distributed to principals and cabinet reviews budget requests. In April, we had our expenditure budget review meeting. May 13th, we will recommend the adoption of the tentative budget. May 16th, we will publish the budget advertisement for the legal organ. May 22nd and June 3rd are tentatively scheduled for the legally required budget hearings. These dates can change depending on the board's availability. June 10th is scheduled for review and adoption of the final budget, as well as adoption of tentative millage rate. In July, we will publish the 5-year tax digest and hold any legally required public hearings on millage rate. These dates in July are tentative. August 5th, we will tentatively schedule the adoption of the final millage rate. After the adoption of the final millage rate, we will notify the Board of Commissioners, submit the adopted budget to Carl Vinson Institute, and transmit to the Department of Education. In our April expenditure budget review meeting, we presented the FY25 continuation budget expenditures. The continuation expenditures only represented expenditures if we were to continue from FY24 with no changes. They do not account for any staff or operational increases. Here you see our FY24 expenditure budget and our FY25 continuation expenditures. I have attached the expenditure meeting presentation for your reference. Also, in our expenditure budget review meeting, we highlighted areas of additional consideration for the FY25 tentative budget. During our preparation of the FY25 tentative budget, the state provided information on what to expect in the governor's budget. As we go forward in this presentation, you will see the expectations from the governor's budget along with our recommendations. Our first consideration is for a 4% pay raise for all employees. The total cost of this is $3.2 million, with our certified staff at $2.5 million and classified staff at $725,000. Approximately $1.7 million of the certified staff increase will be funded by the state for the governor's proposed increase of $2,500 for all certified employees.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Just for clarification, so this proposal of 4%, this is different and enhanced from what the state proposed in funding, correct?
Yes, sir.
So this would be an improvement or an increased level of compensation than what the state's proposed.
That's correct.
Okay, great.
Could you share, Kate, what is the amount the state is allocating to us out of their budget for this?
This governor's recommendation was for $2,500 for all certified employees, and we are expecting to receive approximately $1.7 million.
Thank you.
One clarification. That $2,500 though, that's for the positions that the state budget includes, not for all the positions that we have here in Oconee County Schools, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So they only proposed a $2,500 increase for a subset of the total number of employees that we currently have in our school systems.
Yes, sir. Our second consideration is to add steps to all certified and classified salary scales. Currently, our salary scales end at step 21. This would extend all scales to step 30.
Extending our salary scales will recognize and value our most experienced teachers and staff. The cost for additional steps is $2.2 million, with our certified staff at $1.5 million, affecting 157 certified employees in the first year, and classified staff at $708,000, affecting 93 classified employees in the first year.
I don't know if our administrators were aware of this, but this one's a big deal. As a retired teacher, I can remember hitting year 22, and I already had 3 degrees. And from that point, if the governor didn't give us a raise, we didn't get one. So if every 2 years you get a little bump in for the steps, it's a wonderful thing. So I'm understanding that, I believe it's at year 23, year 25, year 27, and year 29. Do I have the right years?
Yes, ma'am.
So for each of those years, teachers will get a little bit of a step increase. And I think this is a nice incentive, and it's a very nice way to tell our teachers, our veterans, we appreciate you.
Make sure I understand what this proposal encompasses, though. It's not just the teachers, correct? We're also suggesting that classified employees who will also get those step increases as well.
Yes, sir.
And the way it is now is the way the state is, the state has set up the system that we have currently and just ends at 21.
It is ended at 21 for teachers, yes ma'am, from the state.
And then so the local, we have to do it on a local level to get them anything else.
This is an entirely local level recommendation, yes ma'am.
And if I'm correct, when we look at our surrounding school systems, it is, I would say, common to see these steps from years 22 to 30 across our systems that are adjacent to us.
Yes, our RESA, several systems that we would compete with for personnel have extended steps, and then you see in this more and more throughout the state.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
This slide shows a history of pay raises for the school district for the last 10 years, including what has been proposed for FY25. Steps for all eligible employees, a 4% increase for all employees, and extending all salary scales to step 30. Our third consideration for the FY25 tentative budget is the state health insurance increase. The governor's proposed budget includes an increase in the employer health insurance contribution for both certified and classified rates. The proposal includes the certified employer rate increasing from $1,580 a month to $1,760 a month starting July 2024 for a cost of $1.2 million. And the classified employer rate increasing from $1,195 a month to $1,580 a month starting January 2025 for a cost of $983,000. Total cost for both certified and classified is $2.2 million.
These are the increases that the state is passing on to us. That's our responsibility as the employer, correct?
Yes, sir.
The employer rate is yet to be determined, the employee rate is yet to be determined by the Department of Community Health, but at some point, they will determine what increase, if any, the employees themselves have to pay as well.
Yes, sir.
And as I'm understanding, this is not optional, this is mandatory. We're going to pay that $2,232,000.
Yes, ma'am.
If we want to be in the plan.
Exactly. And we do.
This slide shows a history of health insurance increases to the classified employer contribution. Since 2010, the local cost for health insurance has increased $4.6 million. Our fourth consideration for the FY25 tentative budget is the teacher retirement increase. The The governor's proposed budget includes an increase in the TRS employer percentage from 19.98% to 20.78% for a cost of $470,000.
It's another one we don't have a choice.
Yes, ma'am. This slide shows a history of TRS employer rate increases. Since 2010, TRS employer contribution has increased over $5 million for certified staff. Our next consideration for the FY25 tentative budget is new personnel. We have 1 regular ed teacher, 3 special ed teachers, 3 special ed paraprofessionals, 7 elementary clerks moving from part-time to full-time, 1 instructional support specialist, 1 technology support technician, 1 custodian for IC, 1 human resources clerk, and 1 business services clerk. Total cost of new personnel is a little over $1 million.
And Katie, when we're looking at that, and with the elementary clerks part-time to full-time, does that $1,077,000 include their full compensation or their full salary or cost, or is that just the difference between their part-time to full-time?
It's the difference.
Okay, thank you.
Just a reminder, all of these, especially the instructional positions, they're all driven by the formula that we use based on the class size that we distribute to each of the schools to make sure that we maintain the class size and the appropriate level of instructional personnel that correspond to that class size.
Yes, sir.
And that's been consistent for years, I think, Jason, correct?
Yes, sir.
Here for us.
Yes, we allocate regular ed teachers at 22.5 students per teacher. Special education teachers are allocated based on student need, as are special education paraprofessionals, the instructional support specialist, and some other items you see there are based on addition of schools or school populations.
Our last consideration for the FY25 tentative budget is new curriculum at a cost of $340,000. This is the first year cost for the new elementary and secondary curriculum that was approved at the April 15th board meeting to meet new standards.
And this is the cost that's allocated for this year. We're paying in full up front the full cost of that curriculum, but this is just what's being allocated in this year's budget.
That's correct. Here we have a summary of all considerations for the FY25 tentative budget with expenditures of $9.6 million. Of this $9.6 million, over $5 million are required increases by the state, and the remainder is to meet staffing needs and provide salary enhancements to all employees.
Okay, the custodian supplement of $1,000, that's a one-time allocation by the state, correct?
That's correct.
So it's separate from whatever other pay allocations we approve as part of our ongoing budget. This will be separate and one time from that.
Yes, sir.
Custodians this year.
Here we have our total expenditures for the FY25 tentative budget. Continuation expenditures of $105 million plus additional considerations of $9.6 million brings total expenditures to $114.8 million. Of the total expenditures of $114.8 million, salaries and benefits make up $103 million and operations make up $11.5 million. As you may recall, salaries and benefits made up 89% of the continuation budget. With the additional considerations, salaries and benefits are at 90% of total expenditures with operations at 10%. As a reminder, operations are costs outside of salaries and benefits that keep the district running. Some examples include instructional materials and supplies, building maintenance, bus fuel, utilities, and technology. This slide shows total expenditures in graph form. Now we will present projected revenue. Total projected revenue for the FY25 tentative budget is $116.5 million. 52% is state revenue at $61 million, and 48% is local revenue at $55.4 million. This slide shows total projected revenue in graph form.
Jason, remind me, I'm thinking back over the last 5 or 6 years, that split 50-50 has been a lot different over the last 5 or 6 years when it came to the split between local and state. You off the top of your head remember what that might have been 4 or 5 years ago?
It's been trending more to the local than the state. At one point, probably when I started, it was about 60-40 a decade ago, and it's gone more to the local level.
Yeah.
We kind of pivot back and forth between 50%. 50% is kind of how we end up when you include any additional local funds that you're utilizing.
Okay. That's kind of what I was remembering, especially in those years where we had big austerity reductions from the state. I mean, it was got up to 60-40. I would have thought, I'm thinking it might have been worse than 60-40 at some point, but with some of the help that the state's done in the last 3 or 4 years to more equalize that, it's become more of a 50-50 proposition.
Yeah, we received a lot of additional transportation funding and some other areas this year that kind of moved that line a little bit more to the state level away from the local level.
State revenue for the FY25 tentative budget is projected at $61 million. QBE funds make up 94% of state revenue at $57.4 million. QBE is funding we receive from the state based on our student enrollment. Categorical grants, which are our transportation, nursing, and security grants, make up 5% at $3.1 million. And instructional grants, which are our CTAE grants through Department of Education, make up 1% at $530,000. This slide shows total state revenue in graph form. Local revenue for the FY25 tentative budget is projected at $55.4 million. Property and ad valorem make up 94% of local revenue at $52 million. As a reminder, we do not have an official tax digest. This estimate is based on a 5-year average at 10.71% digest growth until we receive the final digest.
So that's an estimate.
Yes, sir.
It's tentative. We don't know what it's going to be until we get a final digest later in several months. So we're estimating and projecting based on previous experience what it could be or may be.
That's correct. Next, we have other local taxes that make up 5% of local revenue at $2.7 million, which include our title ad valorem tax and real estate and intangible tax. Then we have other local sources that make up 1% at $680,000. This includes our E-rate reimbursements, Medicaid reimbursements, and facility rental. This slide shows total revenue in graph form. Total local revenue. This is the history of the tax digest. We have had a steady growth since tax year 2014. The FY25 tentative budget is built on an estimated growth of 10.71% that represents a tax digest value of $3.614 billion. The current millage rate is 15 mills. The FY '25 tentative budget has been built on a proposed millage rate of 15 mills. We currently estimate the ending FY '24 fund balance at $40 million. Of this $40 million, $14.8 million is set aside in committed fund balance, and $5.9 million is set aside in assigned fund balance. This leaves a remaining unassigned fund balance at $19.2 million at June 30th, 2024. Committed fund balance is the portion of fund balance that can only be used for specific purposes committed by the Board of Education. $14.8 million has been committed for future debt payments on the 2021 general obligation bond. Assigned fund balance is the portion of fund balance that is set aside for future projects and initiatives. $1.1 million has been set aside for new school generators, $1.6 million for new curriculum, $3.1 million for Rocky Branch Elementary School renovation, for a total of $5.9 million in assigned fund balance.
Okay, make sure I understand the 14.8 correctly. Based on the bond issue that we issued when we started the current ELAW 6, the projection, and then that bond issue was used to fund all of the expenditures for all of the various projects that have been going on for the last several years. All the expansions of all the elementary schools, the renovations that we're doing on modifications to others, the new middle school that we've opened up at Dove Creek, and now the new ISC that's going to open up here in a couple of months. So all of those expenditures are part and parcel of what it takes from the bond issue and the collections from ELAW 6. But there's debt service to pay back on the bond issue that we will owe for the next several years. If I understand this 14.8 correctly, it will effectively act as a fully funded escrow account to ensure that the dollars are there to pay for the debt service for the remaining years of that bond issue without drawing any additional funds except for ELAW's collections, correct?
Yes, sir.
So it's kind of, it's a guarantee, it's a protection to ensure that no matter what happens with our budget, let's hope there's nothing bad with that, but no matter what happens with our budget going forward, we will have ensured that we have an escrow account that pays off the debt that we owe on those bonds.
Yes, sir. This leaves an unassigned fund balance at June 30th, 2024 of $19.2 million. When you add projected revenue of $116.5 million and deduct expenditures of $114.8 million, you come to an ending fund balance of $20.9 million at June 30th, 2025, which is an 18.2% unassigned fund balance. For simplification purposes, we have this information on a one-page document. This is our FY '25 tentative budget for general fund. We have total anticipated revenues of $116.5 million, total anticipated expenditures of $114.8 million, broken out into 12 functional categories that were discussed in detail at the expenditure budget review meeting, and an estimated unassigned fund balance at June 30th, 2025 of $20.9 million, which is an 18.2% fund balance. Our second action item for the May 13th board meeting is the FY '25 tentative budget for federal funds. As a reminder, we are allocated federal funds that pass through the Department of Education. These funds are restricted for the purposes of each grant. The superintendent's recommendation is to approve the FY '25 tentative budget for general fund and the FY '25 tentative budget for federal funds at the May 13th regular session. That concludes business services, unless there are any questions.
I'd just like to clarify, so even though this is proposed 15 mills, and this next, you are only just dealing with the budget right now. As you mentioned earlier, the millage determination comes later in the process.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so said differently, just following you, so what we're looking at is strictly the expense side of this for practical purposes, but then once we have the full tax digest, we'll be able to understand what the property tax, what the other revenue sources that come through that office will be, and then we're able to make a determination on a final millage rate.
Katie, can you go back to slide 15 for just a second?
Do you want me to? Yeah.
That's FY '25 considerations.
Yes, sir.
These are the various enhancements to our budget that we're looking at and considering on top of what you call the continuation budget, which is basically just the status quo, keep doing the same thing you're doing next year with no other considerations or demands placed on it, correct?
Yes, sir.
In the first one, salary component, salary improvements, that's 4%. But underneath that is the 2,500 that the state has funded and basically dictated. I'll use that word lightly, dictated. So to some extent, there's a component of that 4% that's already built in because the state's dictated to pay $2,500 for a good number of employees.
Yes, sir.
So I don't know. Do you know right offhand how much of that? The 2,500 was how much?
1.7.
Yes,
Okay.
1.7 was state funding.
So another million and another 1.7 million to take it to 4%. But some component of that was already sort of dictated by what the state did with their budget.
Yes, sir.
The salary steps are a discretionary item for us to do if we decide that that's prudent, necessary, desirable, whatever. But it's an enhancement to salary considerations at the state levels. Correct?
Yes, sir.
But the others, all of the others, the health insurance contribution, the TRS contribution, the custodian supplement, the new positions, if we want to continue to honor the formula that we've used for the 11 years I've been here, and the new curriculum that Susan has been talking to us about for months now, years really. All of those are, I use this word lightly, required things to do to stay current with either mandates or demands or salary levels based on our formula, correct?
Yes, sir.
So I was wondering, what I'm sort of getting to is, of that 9.6 million, well less than half of it is probably discretionary. The other part of it is already sort of built in to operating based on what the state's done with their budget and what we have historically desired to have in terms of class size levels and others. So there's a lot of that that's already there. We're looking at it as enhanced considerations that we need to think about. But as our chair so admirably just said, 2.2 million for our health insurance, that's really not a discretionary item if we want to stay in our health insurance plan.
That's
And
correct.
so some of the others. So I offer that as sort of a backdrop when I look at this and think about our continuation budget and what we may have to do to enhance that continuation budget. There's also, I think you've got to at least consider, what are those things that would you be willing to leave out? The TRS supplement, would you be willing to leave that out? I think that it's another way of considering what's really necessary for this budget and what's truly discretionary.
Anything else? Thank you for all your hard
Yeah,
work
good
on
job.
this.
Thanks, Katie. Thank you, Katie.
Okay, we do have a need to go into executive session and need a motion to do so.
I'll make a motion that the board will adjourn to executive session to discuss and deliberate upon personnel matters as described on the affidavit to be attached to the minutes.
Thank you, Ms. Parrish. Need a second?
Second.
Mr. Hammack, all in favor? Passes 5-0.
Take a few minutes, clear the room, come back for executive session.